Guys, today's video is about planning with the end in mind. This is unbelievably important in real estate because real estate is such an expensive game to play. If you want to play in other industries and start a business, you can start businesses with little to no money, right? But in real estate, the purchase prices of homes are so big compared to anything else you're going to do. And the renovation projects are such high number amounts compared to anything else you would do. And I'm going to give you guys a few examples. When I was doing e-commerce or when I worked concrete jobs with my dad, you basically just have to you might have to spend a little bit on marketing, hundreds of dollars, a little bit, and you hope you get a lead or you hope you get a sale. In the case of concrete or any service job, any service business, you just have to get the customer and then you basically have no overhead and then they pay you for the job and then that's what you buy the materials with, whatever, and then the surplus is what you make in profit. Real estate is a totally different game. And I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. I've done a video in the past, a long story of what happened at my fourth house I ever bought. And I lost my shirt on this house. I lost like $40,000 or $50,000 on this house. And it's because I didn't understand this concept of planning with the end in mind. And what that means is you want to think of the end point and then reverse engineer it. You don't just start and figure it out along the way. No. You think of the end point and you work backwards from there. And that's how you come up with your plan of what you're actually going to do. And what happened in this scenario is I bought a house. It was in rough shape. It was during COVID, so you couldn't get inside. Tenants could just basically lock you out. Didn't matter if you gave a notice or whatever. And I bought a duplex for $110,000. Yes, a literal duplex, 3 bedrooms each unit for $110,000, which was supposed to be a great deal. And what happened is the tenant couldn't get a hold of the new owner, which was me. So they instantly reverted to calling the city because the thermostat was out. They couldn't get heat. Anyways, they got a hold of me 10 minutes after they called the city. I go there, I fix the thermostat, everything's working great. But the city inspector guy still shows up. And he shows up for the thermostat, one thing, but once he got his foot in the door, he ended up writing like a 20-page report of all the things that were in violation. And not knowing any better, not planning with the end in mind, I just started to slowly but surely go at it and try to work with the tenants. They were terrible. They wouldn't let me in the house. They wouldn't let contractors in the house. They're awful, awful people. And at one point, we showed up there to go and do work, and we see their dog in the yard, not moving. And we go over, look, it was their dead dog that they just threw in the yard. It was one of those eerie situations that was just a total mess. And what happened is I ended up dumping money into this project, dumping money. And then they would re-break things. The inspector would come, he would check off a few things, add more things. There was no clarity. And I basically dumped money into this project and I ended up just selling it for a massive loss to get out of it. And what I should have done, and this is why I'm making the video, because I have a very similar situation that happened today. I bought a property. I fully renovated it. I posted pictures on my Twitter of this before. It was a brand new house. I put like 50, 60 grand into this house. Everything was new. And it had to get a rental license, which for those of you who don't know, if you're going to rent a property, most cities, most counties are going to require a rental license. And what that means is you're basically notifying the city that this is not an owner-occupied home. This is a rental. Anyways, the guy goes out there, and I'm thinking this is no big deal. I just renovated this property. It's brand new. And he sends me 15 pages of shit. 15 pages. building permit, redo all the driveway, add asphalt, go back and retroactively pull a permit for this. The deck needs to be replaced. Just stuff that was incomprehensible. And I don't know if they have a vendetta with renters or what. I don't know why the report was so aggressive and heinous, but that's what happened. And this is the whole point of the video. I'm telling this story to save people from this situation. People who invest in real estate are people who are action takers and take initiative. Otherwise, you never would have got in. You never would have fought through the paperwork and all the BS and all the offers and everything that it takes to buy a property. So the people who get into real estate are a certain type of person. They're willing to take initiative. And your inclination is when a problem comes up to handle that problem as quickly and as best you can. But here's where you have to plan with the end in mind. If you don't have a clear path to clearing out the situation, if you don't have a clear exit, if it's 50-50, well, I could start on it and do half of it and they'll check some off, but don't even get into it. This also is the same mindset when it comes to flipping properties. I see people buy flips, and by people, I'll look at basically every deal that pops up in my buy box on the MLS. I look at hundreds of deals a week. And I'll notice and I'll follow these properties that I, made offers on or tried at, and I'll go, what did it end up selling for actually? Because if I wanted it at 140, I'm gonna keep track and see what it sold for. I see hundreds of properties that end up still closing. And I think to myself, this person did not think with the end in mind. They don't actually know what they just did. They don't actually have a plan for profit. That they're probably just, if they're an owner occupied, cool, I'll give them a pass. But some of these flips, I'm thinking, you're buying the project because you're eager and you want to, take initiative like I talked about earlier in the video, but you don't actually have the plan to see it all the way through and run all the numbers of how you're actually going to profit. Now, back to this story. Instead of sinking money back into the deal, because this property, with a report like that, I hate to say it, but this property is just effed. It's just screwed at this point. There's really no way out. When the city sinks their teeth in you, anyone in real estate knows this. If the city sinks their teeth in you or a specific property, you're just screwed. That's the reality of it. Anyone knows this who has to work with city ordinances. Once they're on your tail, you're kind of screwed. You're at their mercy. It's one of those weird jobs where you don't think of it a lot, but they have completely unchecked power. They can just show up on houses and start pointing things out. Oh, the outlet is 1.5 feet high, but it needs to be 1.7 feet high. You need to redo all the outlets. That's the type of power that they have. So instead of sinking money in and hoping for the best and hoping that these things get checked off, instead you look at the end in mind, you go, this is a really unfortunate situation, but I'm just going to list it for sale instead. I didn't want to do that. That's not my plan. But that's a plan where I can see the end. I can see how I get there. I can see how I profit a little bit or at least get my money back, and I can exit this situation. Whereas if I start on this flip, if I start on this reno, if I start on the driveway and the asphalt and the permits and the building permit, there's no clear path of how that ends. I don't know how that story is going to end, and I'm putting up a lot of money along the way. So, moral of the story, especially if you're not funded by anyone and you're self-funded, do not be taking those type of risks on projects and flips. Just don't do it. Don't even take the first step if you can't see clearly to the last step. I'll see you guys in the next video.